Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to one of our weekly live streams. I thought tonight that we'd go sorry, I know I'm already, we're just started, I'm not even making eye contact, I'm looking away. I thought tonight that we would start off with, or we go live rather than make a normal video because I think that, you know, there's not too much in the news which is massive, major, groundbreaking, etc, etc, but there is some wee stories that we can have a conversation about. But most importantly, I do like having the chat with you guys, getting your thoughts on that every week to what's going on at Celtic Football Club. So we'll have a bit of a conversation surrounding that. This will obviously be up on video form. If you miss anything, if you can't see the whole thing, etc, then it'll be there for you to watch. So thank you to everybody who can make it just now. Thank you to everybody who's tuning in a little bit later on as well. Make sure to hit like and subscribe because we are so very close to 40,000 subscribers. I think that if it keeps going the way it's going, we should have it hit by the end of the transfer window. So if we could get to the big 40k, that would be fantastic. So make sure to keep pressing like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Nice to see a lot of the regular faces in here. Helen, there's Mark, Mackenzie, Luke, Philip, Joe. Nice to see Jim as well. Nice to see some friendly faces in the chat. We're going to have a bit of conversation tonight. And I guess we should start off with some of the updates that we've had ahead of that game on Sunday. We are going to talk a little bit about the Kilmarnock game, the League Cup tie at Rugby Park. But before that, we'll talk about Brendan Rodgers' press conference and the other news that came out this morning surrounding Stephen Welsh's contract, because Stephen Welsh has signed a new contract at Celtic Football Club. He has extended his stay, signing a new 4-year deal. I'm trying to pull it up on screen now for us so that we could discuss it, because it was something that if you asked me a few weeks ago, I would never have seen coming. I would never have expected to see Stephen Welsh sign a new deal at Celtic Football Club, but he's made a good impression on Brendan Rodgers. It seems he's came off to a good start. He's made a good first impression, and Brendan Rodgers clearly sees him part of his plans. You've seen his comments following the Aberdeen game at the weekend where he said he could see Stephen Welsh playing up to 40 games. Now, he might not get playing 40 games because we'll talk about it, but Brendan Rodgers has rewarded him and showed his faith by giving him a new deal at the club. I thought that Stephen Welsh was a cert to leave Celtic this summer, back at the end of last season. I really didn't expect Stephen Welsh to stay at Celtic. Nothing on the guy personally or anything like that. I just thought that he'd maybe move on for the sake of his own career, alongside the fact that there was talk of some teams overseas looking at him. There was talk of teams in France and Italy looking at potentially bringing Stephen Welsh in. I really did think that he would end up moving on. He wasn't favoured by Ange. We know that. He barely made the bench under Ange Postecoglou. But I think for Brendan Rodgers, he's part of the first 4 centre-halves in the team sheet. It looks like he's preferred to Kobayashi, for example. Now Starfelt has left. We have got Vickers, Majowski and Lagerbielke. We've got our players in, but I think Welsh is that 4th choice when he's fit. So this was the statement anyway that Celtic put up this morning, saying that Stephen Welsh is signing a new 4-year deal, which will see him remain until summer 2027. He's only 23. I keep forgetting how young he actually is. Only 23 years of age. He's already made 53 appearances for the club. And Stephen Welsh said that signing a new contract for the club I've been brought up on and have supported my whole life was for me an easy decision to stay at the club for another 4 years at least. Hopefully, it's time for me to kick on now, and I can hopefully have a good few seasons. And yeah, he'll be buzzing. He'll be buzzing that Brendan Rodgers is back, and Brendan Rodgers actually wants to use him and give him a chance. Whereas I think things would have been very different if Ange was still in charge. I think that if Ange was still here this season, Welsh probably would have moved on. I don't think he would have been in any rush to offer Stephen Welsh a new contract. But you do look at some of the circumstances that surround Stephen Welsh staying at the club. You know, he is a homegrown player. He does help make that criteria. And if Brendan Rodgers can get the best out of him, then there's absolutely no harm in having him around, I suppose. I still think that he's probably not the level that we need to be starting, but that isn't the role he's going to be playing here at Celtic. We have got 3 players that will be ahead of him in the pecking order. But if you look below that, if Stephen Welsh is fine with it, then I suppose I am too. It makes life easier for us going out there and trying to meet these UEFA requirements for the European competitions. It means that we don't need to worry about bringing in more centre-halves. Ultimately, you've got 2 main ones, and as long as you've got them, and you've got a wee backup there as well, there's no harm in having Stephen Welsh around the club. So he has signed a new contract. He will be remaining with the club until summer 2027 apparently. However, and I'm going to give credit to Everything Celtic on Twitter here again tonight, because he's tweeted this photo. A few people have tweeted the photo right enough. This went up today. Yeah, not looking good. not looking good at all. So he gets the new contract, but he's now out injured. Now, we don't know how long that injury is going to be. That's yet to be confirmed, but Brendan Rodgers has indeed confirmed that he will be out for the Kilmarnock game this weekend. But as soon as you see crutches and a moon boot, it's not a great sign. It's never a great sign. So, good news and bad news today for Stephen Welsh, and I'm sure that we will find out the extent of said injury before the next game, before we play St Johnstone at Celtic Park next week. But it's quite gutting for him, of course, because obviously he has a big chance ahead of him now with Vickers being out, with the new boy coming in. There was maybe a couple of opportunities for Welsh to get some more minutes under his belt, but yeah, as you can see here, he's not going to be playing football. And here's a good point from Aidan, by the way. I don't know when the contract was signed, the pen was put to paper, and when all the photographs were taken. But of course, as we all know, this morning the photos were posted of him holding the shirt, sitting there doing the interview, and he was fine. And then this coming out about 5 p.m. this evening. Completely different, complexing images. So I don't know if something's happened in training today or if the contract was maybe signed yesterday. But he is out injured, and it does take us down a name in the centre-half department. Of course, now Kobayashi, for example, will move up the pecking order. He will be there. He'll have a fourth place to play for. But this means that we're probably going to see a brand new centre-half pairing this weekend, which is a risk. But it's also going to be an exciting risk to see what they play like together. Lagerbielke and of course, Mike Nawrowski as well. So it's going to be interesting to see the two of them playing together this weekend, because that's probably going to be the centre-half partnership, with Cameron Carter-Vickers update coming out as well today. So yeah, a mixed day for Stephen Welsh. New contract and an injury that sticks him on crutches and a moon boot. Yeah, it's probably not went the way he wanted it to go. I'm going to pull up a few of the comments surrounding Stephen Welsh's new contract. I've seen a lot of talk about goalkeepers in the chat, and yeah, we're still waiting on one. I don't think we're going to get one, to be honest. Let's see, I suppose the biggest progress should really be in the next 4 years, so could be a shrewd move. Me personally, I think he needs to improve his linking between the lines. He passes square up to the back too much. Well, this is it, he's only 23. You know, footballers are still way off their prime at that age, aren't they? And I've always been very critical. I'm not going to sit here and pretend just because he signed a new contract that I'm suddenly Stephen Welsh's biggest fan and I think he's great and this, that, and next thing. I've always been a little bit critical of Stephen Welsh. I've never really thought he's up to the standard, but he is still so young. And, you know, footballers at their prime at 27, 28 years of age, he's still 5 years off that, you know. So, you know, we could see the best of Welsh in coming years. I don't know. So he's going to have chances under Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers was very open about that. But yeah, what did happen? What actually did happen? Liam Scales, of course. I think that his Celtic career might be coming to an end. I've not heard any links with moves yet or anything like that. But yeah, that was the news on Stephen Welsh anyway today. The new contract and the injury. We also got updates on Cameron Carter-Vickers today as well in the press conference regarding his injury. Of course, that came out after the Aberdeen game as well. He's going to be out this weekend. There will not be any Cameron Carter-Vickers. He's gone. Hopefully we'll be back very, very soon. But we, once again, it doesn't really go into depth about how long he'll be out for or anything like that. I'm hoping that it's nothing too serious. And hopefully he's back, for example, the Rangers game. I think if we can get through Kilmarnock at the weekend with Lagerbielke and Nawrowski, and then we can get through St Johnstone at Celtic Park with Lagerbielke and Nawrowski, we should survive. I think that we should get through it fairly fine. I don't want to jinx anything. I don't want to say that and Kilmarnock knock us out the cup. But we should be okay. As long as Vickers is back for the derby, I'll be happy. And Alistair Johnston is close to returning as well. We got an update on him. Brendan Rodgers did confirm last week, of course, that he was back on the grass and he was back in training, but it's further down the line now. It looks as though he will be back soon, which is good. How soon? If I was to go out on a limb, I still think it'll be after the international break because I don't think they'll want to rush him back. But we also got an update on his fitness and it looks as though he'll be back soon. So, yeah, Welsh and Cameron Carter-Vickers, they are out for this weekend. Alistair Johnston is still out, of course, but he will be back sooner rather than later. overall, more negatives than positives, I would say, on the fitness front. We don't want to see our best players getting hurt, getting injured, but at least, that they aren't, they're not major injuries. We're not looking at, well, we're yet to hear about Welsh, but we know that Vickers isn't going to be out for a massive amount of time. So yeah, we should be okay. Yeah, so that was the updates in the press conference this evening, or sorry, this afternoon, I should say, from Brendan Rodgers. And we obviously head into a big game at the weekend against Kilmarnock, our first cup game of the season. Brendan Rodgers, very successful in his cup stints during his first tenure as Celtic manager, and we want to do that again. Kilmarnock, listen, they're not an easy team to beat. They've showed it already. What was the score again on the opening game of the season? I think it was Kilmarnock 1, Rangers 0. I think that was the score. And that was at Rugby Park. And of course, plastic surfaces, etc., etc. Derek McInnes, defensive football, all that jazz. It will be a tough game at the weekend. However, the good thing is, heading into this game, it's nice being in a position where it's a week-to-week basis. We've not had to play European qualifiers like Rangers, Hibs, Aberdeen. Sorry, not Aberdeen, Rangers, Hibs, Hearts. They've had to play midweek games. They've had to do all that. We, on the other hand, we don't need to. We've had a full week's rest, a full week's break. I think that come Sunday at Rugby Park, we'll just see the fully strength side that will go out. I still see people talking about cup rotation. Absolutely no chance. No way. No cup rotation on Sunday. Get the best team out in the park. No way. Just get everybody out. Kyogo out, McGregor out, the back four out as strong as it can be. It's going to be really fascinating to watch Lagerbielke and Nawrocki play together for the first time. We'll sort of get an estimation of where they two are at together. Just need to hope there's no clear and obvious errors, no blunders, nothing that would make you go, ugh. The one thing that I just want to avoid so dearly is any of those two falling into the trap. I say trap, it wasn't a trap, but I don't want any of the two of them to head into a position that Carl Starfelt did for the longest time. Carl Starfelt came in that Hearts game back in Tynecastle in 2021. And, for some people, he could never recover. He could never recover from that dodgy performance in his first ever game. And I just hope we don't get any of that from Lagerbielke. Or even, I know Nawrocki's played a few times now, but not from him either. I hope that they just go out there, keep it strong, keep it tidy, keep it simple, ultimately, and do nothing stupid. And we should walk away with a goal, with goals and a clean sheet easily. I think Celtic should be winning the game, as long as the best team's out in the park. But we can't underestimate Killie. They did get that fantastic opening result against Rangers. However, I would say that we are quite a margin above Rangers at the minute. Thank you to Ian Fleming, by the way, for the donation. It's much appreciated. Saying, evening, Ryan, how many more players do you think will come in? We'll come back to that in a couple of minutes. We're going to move on to transfer talk and all the rest of it. So yeah, we'll have a conversation about all of that. But thank you very much, because I see a lot of people asking about Daniel Podence and obviously Brendan Rodgers spoke today on transfer talks, transfer rumours. So we're going to try and talk about it. Oh, I'm just typing it in my PC. Ignore me. But thank you, Ian, for the donation. So anyway, Kilmarnock at the weekend. I think that Celtic should get through it relatively. I want to say dent-free. But we know we're in for a tough game, and if we can advance to the next round of the cup, I'll be very, very happy. So another win, and I'll be fine with that. It's going to be hard, but you got to remember back to Brendan Rodgers' first time in charge of Celtic. Killie was a much different place to go, wasn't it? Because remember, when Brendan Rodgers was here, Steve Clarke was here. That's when Kilmarnock were, the third best team in the country. You could say they were fantastic under Stevie Clarke. And we used to go to Rugby Park, and it was solid. It was tough. I remember that was back when I could get tickets to Rugby Park, and it was murder going there. I think I've seen us lose or drop points anyway more times than I've seen us win. The biggest one that stands out was Rodgers' last ever domestic away game, and that was at Rugby Park right before we played Valencia in the Europa League, and we won that night with the 90th minute goal from Scott Brown. And I think that might have been the first ever time. No, I've seen them win another time as well. The two that come to mind winning there were both 1-0. Stuart Armstrong in 2016. We won that season there, and we won the Scott Brown time. And then I think every time in between, in 2017, 2018, I think we lost or drew. It was a really tough place to go. Brendan Rodgers' side did struggle there, but we're looking at a completely different world now with no Steve Clarke at Kilmarnock. They're not as good a side. So yeah, it should be a completely different game, and I'm looking forward to say the least. It's just good having Celtic back in action weekly. So yeah, it'll be good. So yeah, fantastic. That's that's sort of that for the Killie match preview. I don't know if we'll maybe go live or do a video tomorrow. If we do, keep an eye out on the channel. But yeah, let's get into you guys, and I'll quickly talk on the transfer front. I'm trying to look for the tweet that I seen earlier in regards to Brendan Rodgers' comment. So I'll come back to Ian, who donated £5. Once again, thank you. And earlier on, I did see a tweet, and Brendan Rodgers has basically rubbished the links that were in the media with the likes of Daniel Podence and Ryan Fraser over the past week. He's basically rubbished that. He said that's not happening. As I said, I would have been shocked if we went to go and try and get Daniel Podence at the price they were talking about, £12 million. I just didn't see Celtic spending that sort of money. So it does beg the question, realistically, how many more do I think will come in, and who would my realistic signings be? I always revert to the same answer when it comes to realistic signings. I don't know. I'm not a scout. I don't watch Swedish football, Norwegian football, bloody what other leagues do we sign from, Japanese football. I don't watch the leagues the markets that we shop in. So realistic signings to me, they don't exist in my head. It doesn't compute. The scouts do that job. I'm not a scout. But realistically, I don't think we're going to spend big money on players like £12 million this summer, and Brendan Rodgers has spoke about that. So people like Podence is just not going to happen. However, back to Ian's original question, how many more do I think will come in this window? Well, Brendan Rodgers spoke back after Pataudry last week, and he said that he does want a few more names, and he used the term a few. That was including Lagerbielke, of course. So I'm expecting 2 more players to come in. I'm expecting 2 more players to join the club before now and the end of the window. I think that it would be good to see department strengthened, the left back department being one of them, the wing being one of them as well. I think if you get 2 players in those areas, I'd be happy with that. We of course all want a goalkeeper as well, but it doesn't look as though that's going to happen. I've accepted that. I've understood that that's not going to happen, so I'm not as bothered right now. But I think that, we're looking at least 2 more signings, I would say, coming in this transfer window. I'd like to hope. The time is running out. Of course, we've only got a fortnight left of the transfer window, so Celtic need to get their jobs, their mission done quickly if they want to go and sign names. But, we've seen it happen in the past. When Brendan Rodgers was here the first time, a lot of these deals, they are done quietly. And things might just happen out of nowhere. Even the likes of, you look at a couple of our signings in this transfer window, Lagerbielke being the most recent example. Lagerbielke came out and was done like that. It wasn't one of these ones that was dragged on for weeks, and we heard his name weeks ago. No, Lagerbielke was... I remember doing a video on, I think it was maybe last Thursday, maybe. It was said that Celtic are looking at Lagerbielke as one of the options. Then come, Saturday, it was all but done. That's the kind of way it works. So if we are going to sign another couple of players, I really don't think it's going to be names that are being thrown around just now. I think it's ones that are going to come out over the next fortnight on a random day, and then 2 days later they'll be in a Celtic shirt. That's how I think we're going to roll with it. So we just need to be we're just going to have to be patient with it. But if Brendan Rodgers wants players and needs players, then the board will hopefully acknowledge that and honour that, and then we'll see signings come in. So yeah, let's get on to, I've been talking to you guys for 20 minutes. Let you guys talk to me. This is my favourite part. First off, I want to bring up this from Ewan because I really appreciate it. He said, "Hi Ryan, been loving the content lately. Keep it up. It'll be a tough game on Sunday, but I'll be happy with a 2-0 win. Also, it's good to see Alistair Johnson back in training. He's been a miss." And thank you for the kind words. I do appreciate it. CJ saying, "Still underwhelmed with the window so far, especially with the injuries taking over." Listen, we'll take injuries aside for a moment because we can't help injuries. They can't be helped. Nobody can stop that from happening. So I'll take them away. Put them to the side. I was looking at Celtic's overall transfer business the other day, and I want to bring it back up because, I understand people being underwhelmed with the window, but I'm going to be bluntly honest, right? I think being underwhelmed with the transfer window is more on, I'm not underwhelmed, right? So, but if you are underwhelmed, I'm not saying get it up here, it's your fault or anything like that, but I think that more depends on how high you hoped we were going to spend on big players, and that if you bought into this notion that we were going to go and spend, £10 million in a player, then you will feel underwhelmed. I knew deep down that wasn't going to happen because ultimately there's just not a lot of players in the market at that price who are going to realistically come to Celtic. I never had my hopes set that highly. I'm not underwhelmed. I want more. And the reason I'm not underwhelmed as well is because I think we're going to get more. Right now, Celtic have spent nearly 20 million euros in the transfer window, which is a decent amount of money when you think about it. Obviously, we've brought in about 35 million euros with Jota leaving for 30 of it. So, yeah, you could say that we've maybe disappointed in not spending all that money. But the transfer window's still got 2 weeks left and there's players going to come in. We have signed, and now we've signed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players so far. I think there's a couple more to come in. I'm not underwhelmed. There's also a January window to come too. And 20 million euros, we heard about this 30 million transfer kitty, right? And people are still banging up, what happened to the 30 million kitty? What happened to that? If we do go and sign 2, 3 more players, and as I said, I still think we'll see 2, right? We're going to probably spend about 3, 4, 5 million on them. So you suddenly take it up to maybe 10 million more spent. If we spend another 10 million, that's close to 30 million euros. That's the war chest we were all talking about. I know if you convert it to pounds, you're talking a bit less, like 25 million pounds, right? But say 30 million euro, that's a hell of a lot of money for one window. And it's money we don't really see Celtic thrown around that often. So I don't feel underwhelmed because I look at our strongest starting 11 in a minute and I'm pretty happy with it. I think that if it was up to me, if you look at our strongest 11, I'll try and run through it very, very quickly, right? With the strong... I'm not... Let me just get this point through. I'm not saying the window's been amazing. I'm not saying it's been great. But what I am saying is I think I'm not underwhelmed by it. If you look at our strongest 11 right now, Hart, Johnston, Vickers, then you've got Nawrocki, Lagerbielke, right? We'll go Nawrocki, Taylor, McGregor, O'Reilly, Hatate, Abada, Kyogo and Maeda, right? As a strongest 11, that's good. That's a good 11. Now we go out and hopefully make the 2 more signings that we want, one being a left back, I think, and one being a winger. You improve that. I would love a goalkeeper as well. I just don't think it's going to happen. But you make those extra couple of signings. Now 11 is a stronger place than last year, I think. But I can understand why people think that we're maybe a little bit weaker. We have lost Jota, we have lost Starfelt. But for Starfelt leaving, we've signed 2 centre-halves. Jota is the one we still just need to get that big replacement for. But people really do need to understand it's just not easy. It's not simple for Celtic to go out and pluck somebody out of thin air who's going to be coming in and as good as Jota straight away. That's difficult to do. So I can understand frustrations. I'm just saying I'm not underwhelmed. I will see how I feel come the end of the window, and I'll give my general opinion. Anyway, any news on the Ligue 1 player? I believe people are talking about Merlin. There's nothing else since the initial news the other day that Celtic were apparently interested. There's the name there, Merlin from Nantes. Or Nantes, as people were telling me to call it. Fucking Christ. Yeah, nothing else since the original interest. Am I more hopeful on KT? Nah, I'm not. I must say, Alistair, I'd love to be. I would love to be. And I would love a world where KT returns to Celtic, but I just don't see it happening. I just don't. I've never had my hopes set to any level on that. Did we actually sign Tilio? I really hope Odin gets a start on Sunday and not Turnbull. He looked like a class player, and I'd like to see Odin get a start at the weekend, I must say. I did say none of this cup rotation, but with Hatate out, there's nothing to say that Odin doesn't deserve a starting spot at the weekend, so I would love to see it too. I would really like that. I do understand this though from CJ. It's the Brendan arrival that's brought the grandeur expectations, but again, still very much underwhelmed. I can understand. It just depends on your perspective on the squad, where you think we are individually. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I personally look at our squad. I think it's very good. Do I think it's ready to go and ambitiously challenge in Europe? Not necessarily, but there's nothing to say it's not. I think that, it can do something for us if everybody plays to their best level. But as I said, come the end of the window, my opinion might change. I might be underwhelmed. If we don't make these other 2 signings, which I expect us to make, then yeah, I might be on the underwhelmed train as well. But we'll see come the end of the window. Hart, Taylor, and no physicality in midfield. You're happy with that going into Europe, Ryan? Yeah, I am. I'm happy. No, listen, I can't express it. Express? What's the word? Is it express? It's not the word I'm looking for. I can't stress, that's it. I can't stress it enough that I will judge it more better by the end of the window, and I think we really do need a keeper. But what I'm saying about the keeper thing is, it just doesn't look as though Brendan Rodgers is going to sign one. Hold on, someone's phoning me. So it just doesn't look as though Brendan's going to sign a keeper, because there's been no talk about it. But, you know, no physicality in midfield. I think, you know, I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't think we've got a brute of a midfield, but people always make this this kind of argument to say that we need a destroyer in the midfield. I don't think we do. I think that you suddenly put a destroyer in there, and then you lose the technical ability of one of them. And Celtic don't really play football that needs a destroyer. I think people seriously over exaggerate the lack of physicality there is in the side. We've also signed 2 now 6'3" defenders, which is automatically going to make our back line more physical and make it better to defend set pieces, general defence. They're taller, they're bigger. But look, we'll come the end of the window. I understand if people aren't happy with it, but yeah, look, I'm okay right now. I'm fine. It's just one man's opinion. That's all. Listen, one man's opinion. I like this though from Joe Boggs, because he's summed it up pretty well. He's saying that Joe Hart is becoming the elephant in the room. Yeah, he is becoming an elephant in the room. Mark's brought up a point. We talk about physicality in the midfield. You've got a guy there, Iwata, who's got physicality. He probably does deserve another chance playing in his natural position. I thought he looked okay in pre-season, apart from when he was showing up a little bit in the Bilbao friendly. I thought he looked okay. Do I think he's going to get that shot in the midfield? I think it'll be few and far between his opportunities, but when he does get it, he needs to take it. And that's been the big problem with him and Kobayashi so far. They've had chances, and I don't think any of them have really stepped up. Well, especially Kobayashi, he's in a different pond altogether, right? But I don't think Iwata's necessarily stepped up in competitive games and went, here I am, play me yet. But you need that out of a player for him to get chances. But you're right, you know, you could play him, you could move McGregor up. That's always an option, Mark. It's always an option. It's just never, this is what people need to let go of Kelleher. It's never going to happen. Kelleher should be in the picture in a perfect world. In Football Manager, yeah, real life, not going to happen. It's just not. I think Liverpool value him at something like 25 million quid. Celtic can't pay £25 million for a goalkeeper, ladies and gents. I would love Kelleher at Celtic, but it's just not. Yeah, McCarthy is just is just collecting all his money and watching Celtic play all the time. And he's loving life, eh? He's loving it. He's born a Celtic fan. He still is a Celtic fan, just collecting wages after the club. Fantastic. Yeah. I think I didn't say Calmac. I wasn't talking about Calmac being not good enough, unless that's you saying Calmac's not good enough, which if you are, sorry, you've smoked something good. Yeah. Right, I think I'm going to wrap it up there for this evening. Yeah, I think we've basically covered all kind of fronts and we've spoke away in the comments as well, because we're approaching half an hour very, very quickly, actually. So we'll see if any news comes out tomorrow. If not, then I'm probably going to take a wee day off tomorrow. We'll be back on Sunday following the Kilmarnock game, of course. But if there is news, we'll talk about it all and we'll get it all covered. But thank you to all 200 and whatever many viewers were in here tonight. I hope you have enjoyed. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. And I'll speak to you all soon. But thank you all for the support. Hail, hail. Bring on Sunday, and I'm sure we'll all be very, very happy. Hopefully. God, don't jinx it, Ryan. Don't jinx it. Right, cheerio.